Hello, and welcome to the Reselling Report for today, Tuesday, May 12th, 2020. I'm your host, Ann Eckhart, and every weekday morning I upload the Reselling Report here to YouTube to update you on the day's retail and e-commerce news, including the latest from eBay, Amazon, Etsy, and Poshmark. If you haven't done so already, I hope you'll subscribe. And now let's get on with today's show. Well, happy Tuesday, everyone. I feel like now that things are starting to reopen in the country, that it's getting a little easier to remember what day it is. I just got back from dropping off a huge load of stuff at my consignment store, and they are open for shopping again. They're taking drop-offs, albeit they're being very careful. It's contactless, so I filled up my tub outside. I brought it in. They'll let it sit for 3 days before going through it. Some of the Goodwills in Iowa are doing the same thing, contactless drop-off. So they're going to start accepting donations, but you have to drop them off. They'll let them sit for 3 days before they process them and put them out on the floor. So it sounds like here in Iowa, by Friday, a lot of retail will fully be back open. Some did open this weekend, but it's up to each individual retailer. So we shall see how that continues to go. I did want to talk a little bit about the stimulus programs and payments. If you got the $1,200 stimulus payment from the government, if you haven't gotten it yet, it's likely it's being mailed to you. So keep your eye out in your mailbox. I did get mine in the mail. If you filed a return and got a refund in 2018 or 2019, it was supposed to be automatically deposited into your account. Well, I got a refund in 2018, but I owed in 2019, and they said my info wasn't in. I did end up getting my check. It was a couple weeks ago now in the mail. Strangely enough, then I've now gotten 2 letters from, how President Trump wanted a letter going out with the payments, but my original payment didn't come with the letter, and I've since now gotten 2 letters. So apparently the government has money to be mailing out checks and then a letter and then another letter, and then my dad got a letter even though his refund was deposited. So I don't know, there's mail all over the place. Anyway, there was that. But I did want to just quickly go over, there are some new bills being introduced for further stimulus payment. Now, I'm getting this that I'm going to read to you over on the Fox Business News website. The same article is on every major news site. I've had some people comment in the past that they don't like, if I say this site or that site. I'm trying to spread it out. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, NBC, all the things. So basically the same thing on every site, but this one I am getting from Fox Business News about different proposals that are currently being introduced. There is a new proposal to give $2,000 a month to every American. And then there's another bill that is the Emergency Money for People Act. Now, this is the $2,000 in monthly income to single taxpayers, $4,000 to married couples filing jointly for up to 1 year, single filers earning less than $130,000, and married couples filing jointly with less than $260,000 would qualify for this payout, and parents and households would be eligible for $500 extra per child with a cap up to 3 children. One difference would be is that dependents aged 17 or older would qualify. That was something that was not part of the last check. If you had a child 17 or older, they didn't qualify, even if they were still in your house and you were claiming them as a dependent. There's another proposal called the Getting America Back to Work Act, which is providing a refundable payroll tax rebate designed to cover up to 80% of employer payroll costs. So that's another proposal that's been introduced. Then there's the Rent and Mortgage Cancellation Act, which would allow rent and mortgage payments to be legally canceled for a period of 1 year without adversely impacting a person's credit score. So just some things that are being introduced. Now, of course, these are just being introduced, and when these bills get introduced, they get reworked and people tack things on and change, or they don't even go forward. So there you go. But I will link this article below if you want to go through. Let me know what you like the best. Now, personally, I'm for the $2,000 a month. Now, that would be stimulus. So, of course, you would get that money and hopefully be able to pay your bills and then have money to spend in your community. So, that's getting the economy stimulated, right? That's what a stimulus may be. But I'm also something for rent and mortgage, because that's a huge payment for a lot of people. And I've been seeing stories online of individuals who are getting unemployment, but it's not enough to cover rent and mortgages. So I don't know. And it would be interesting if this $2,000 a month, is that on top of people getting unemployment? I don't know. Again, these are all just preliminary proposals, so we'll keep an eye on them to see what happens. A bit of general retail news before I dive into the reselling sites themselves. There's a new article on CNBC.com titled Under Armour Sales Plummet 23% as Coronavirus Stalls Turnaround Plans. Under Armour reported an adjusted loss of 34 cents per share in the first quarter on revenue of $930.2 million. Just round it down. Apparel sales also dropped 23% to $598 million, while footwear revenue was down 28% to $210 million, and accessories revenue declined 17% to $68 million. So the athletic apparel company said it plans to cut about $325 million in operating costs in 2020 to help it weather the crisis, including temporarily laying off some retail employees. So I just wanted to highlight this because the big stores, the big brands are really, really struggling, even as some retail locations start to open up slowly. I don't know that it will be enough to have a quick turnaround for retailers who are already in trouble, but I just thought I'd mention, I know a lot of us pick up Under Armour to resell, although it used to be a lot better than it is, and I don't know if that's because the market's saturated or just because you can now buy Under Armour at Kohl's. But Under Armour, another big brand that is struggling. Poshmark has been heavily criticized during the coronavirus outbreak for not addressing the problem and not responding to sellers' concerns. They had a little promo a month or so ago where you could create a TikTok video, basically an ad for them, and they were going to give up to $5,000 to charity, and people were not happy with that. That was a lot of work, basically to give them a free commercial and for them to give such a little amount. Well, it seems that Poshmark has either heard those complaints or they just are now getting on the ball. But there is a new post over on the Posh Life by Poshmark blog that's titled, Together We Thank Frontline Workers. On behalf of the entire Poshmark community, thank you, frontline workers. The post reads, the human and economic toll of the COVID-19 pandemic has been inconceivable on so many levels. As many of us have sheltered in place, countless people have answered the call of duty to keep us safe, fed, and support the most vulnerable, and to provide essential services during this unprecedented time. Members of the Poshmark community are among those on the front lines, and we're incredibly grateful for their service. Today and throughout the week, we'll be honoring frontline workers for their tireless efforts. We encourage you to join us by tagging and thanking people you know who are working hard on the front lines. We'll also be donating $150,000 this week, much better Poshmark, across a number of nonprofit organizations that support frontline workers on behalf of the entire Poshmark community. So Monday the 11th, they are honoring people who work at the food banks by donating $25,000 to Feeding America and Food Banks Canada. On Tuesday, nurses are being honored with a $25,000 donation to Direct Relief. Wednesday, teachers are being honored by a $25,000 donation to Donors Choose, which is to help teachers get books, food, and basic supplies, as well as arts and craft materials needed to keep children learning at home. On Thursday, doctors are being honored with a $25,000 donation to Doctors Without Borders. And finally, on Friday, the 15th, restaurant workers are being donated with a $25,000 donation to the World Central Kitchen. So good job, Poshmark. $150,000 going out this week to various organizations. I think that's great. Let me know what you think. It certainly makes up for the paltry $5,000 TikTok donation they made a month or so ago, I think. So good news. Good job, Poshmark. There's a new post on the eBay for Business page over on Facebook titled Our Every Other Monday Check-In to share updates on what's happening. This is from Marnie Levine. It's only about 5 minutes, and she just talks about how they're hoping to do a video this week about shipping. She mentioned the managed payments emails that went out over the weekend. A lot more of us got those that say we are going to be opted in July. So a pretty short video if you want to go over and watch that. There's also an article over on theguardian.com. Now, this is in relation to UK eBay sellers, but I feel wherever you talk about eBay, wherever you are in the world, it matters to everyone, US, UK, Australia, wherever. So I thought I'd just share this article with you. It's titled, eBay Enjoys Lockdown Renaissance as Buyers and Sellers Flock to the Site. The article reads, more than 50,000 new businesses have signed up to the UK arm of online trading site eBay in April as independent retailers seek a way to survive through lockdown. Okay, right there, I'm a little suspicious because eBay said 50,000 new accounts had signed up, but I thought that was across everyone. This article's saying just in the UK alone. Now, I find it hard to believe that there are 50,000 businesses in the United Kingdom who've signed up on eBay in April. The UK is not that big of a country. 50,000 in America would be a lot. So I'm suspicious if that's the UK. But anyway, next paragraph. Hardware and toy stores to fashion boutiques and brands have turned to the site as a means to keep trading since the government forced all retailers deemed non-essential to close their door on March 23rd to help slow the spread of the coronavirus. Even big fashion brands are signing up to the site as a way to clear spring stock that will never make it to stores. Up to 80 have already signed up. Now see there it says 80 fashion businesses. Well, what about that number, that 50,000 at the UK, that has to be wrong. Sorry, I'm just stuck on it. Businesses are trying to find a way to survive, says Rob Hartle, the boss of eBay's UK arm. The leap towards eBay reflects an acceleration of the shift to online shopping across the market prompted by the pandemic. Sales slumped 93% at high street stores in April. I love that the United Kingdom calls downtown stores high street. Why can't we say our downtowns are high street? High street, downtown. I like high street better. According to the advocacy firm BDO's monthly snapshot of trading at dozens of medium-sized non-food chains, whereas online and catalog sales more than doubled, 109%. Shopper numbers on eBay have doubled as families switch to buying online rather than giving up spending altogether. But Hartle says it's a mistake to think that all online sellers are doing well. It's not a consistent or broad brush. It is category specific. Before lockdown started, sales of medical products such as face masks and hand sanitizers soared. Since then, there have been different waves of demand moving from home office supplies to games and puzzles, fitness equipment, home baking, and in recent weeks, signs of a return to buying clothing. So that's good news for clothing sellers, which those are probably the largest bulk of resellers out there for selling online are clothing sellers. And I know a lot of you took a big hit when this first started. People were not buying clothing, but they say they're starting to see clothing supplies go up. And of course, we're heading into summer. So whether you're at home or traveling, most people will stay at home. You're still going to need summer clothes. So I hope those of you who sell clothing are seeing an uptick. And I hope everybody continues to see strong sales. It'll be interesting as now people are getting more out and about shopping in store, what will happen to those of us who did see a pretty big spike over the past couple months. Now, I saw a pretty big spike. My store is pretty small at this point, and, I don't have like a huge catalog to offer, but I was seeing consistent sales every day. It's definitely slowed down in the past couple days as things have opened up. So it'll just be interesting to see what happens in the months ahead. If you are an Amazon seller, I'm sure you love that Amazon dominates the e-commerce market. But if you're not on Amazon, you might feel a little differently. There's a new article on Barron's.com titled How Amazon Could Boost COVID-19 Testing While Crushing E-Commerce Rivals. This article says in announcing first quarter earnings, Amazon says it expects to spend $4 billion or more in the second quarter on expenses related in its response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Among other things, the company is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to develop their own COVID-19 testing capabilities. Now, wouldn't that be something? There's the testing for the virus, but there's also the testing for the antibodies. I would like the testing for the antibodies because you can be tested for the virus and 2 minutes later get exposed, unless you're testing like twice a day. But I feel those antibody tests. Anyway, article goes on to read, Amazon also said a team of scientists, programmers, Procurement specialists and software engineers have shifted from their normal jobs to a dedicated team working to build incremental testing capacity. The team is building its first lab and has begun a pilot program to test frontline employees. We're not sure how far we'll get in the relevant time frame, but we think it's worth trying and we stand ready to share anything we learned. All of that has Morgan Stanley analyst Brian Nowak thinking that the possibility that Amazon might evolve into a substantial player in COVID-19 testing to the benefit of the company's reputation, its competitive position, and the health of humanity. We believe the goal is to create COVID-19 testing stations that Amazon employees can pass through on a daily basis. Amazon expects to spend $1 billion on this innovation between April and the end of 2020. He also thinks Amazon is likely to work on a saliva test that requires minimal handling and could reduce result in minutes. Nowak says there are 3 challenges to scaling up to a rapid testing test, and all 3 play to Amazon's strengths: supply chain and optimization of a test and capital. Of course, Amazon has tons of money. So interesting to see Amazon getting into this. I mean, can't be surprised. They're getting into everything. So would you love to order a COVID-19 test from Amazon? Prime shipping, get it in 2 days. Maybe get your results right on the spot. I would love any test that would come to my house and I could just do from home and get my results straight away. So we will be watching Amazon. Every scientist and every lab in the world is working on the coronavirus right now. So we'll see how Amazon comes out in their race to develop testing too. If you like to sell things locally or online on Facebook or Instagram, you might be interested that Square is now offering online checkout. According to a post on their site that is titled Easy Checkout Links to help you start accepting payments online, you can now add a link to your item directly online and have customers pay directly through that link, i.e. not having to link to PayPal or another payment source, including just dropping off cash when you sell locally. All you have to do is create a link, give whatever you're selling a name and price, and you can create a link to sell it online. No HTML code or website needed. You can then share it everywhere, accept secure payments from multiple online channels and customers. Easy online sharing lets you reach lots of potential buyers with just a single click. And finally, get paid. Your customers, donors, or patrons don't need an account or special app to make a payment. They just go straight to checkout with no hassles. No contracts, monthly fees, or startup costs. You only pay 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction, which is what a PayPal fee is. So this is basically a way to not have to use PayPal. Your buyer can just pay with their credit card directly using a link that you create using Square. So this page will be linked in the show notes below the video if you're interested in learning more. Let me know if this is something that you would use if you sell locally or if you sell via social media. And finally, today there's an article over on Jezebel.com titled, Is It Okay to Thrift Online? Etsy sellers discuss how the pandemic has affected their business. The article reads, I'm weak. When social distancing ordinances were first put into place, I knew there were 2 things I was going to genuinely struggle without because I am an entitled jerk who enjoys a certain consumerist standard of living. Concerts and thrift stores. Live music has found a quick fix in intimate Instagram performances, but thrifting feels impossible. The hunt for a good piece is transfixing and potentially rewarding. Shopping online simply does not give me the same sort of rush. But when 2 a.m. rolls around on a school night, my mind wants only one thing, to find the vintage fits I'd normally cop at a Goodwill for $7. And so I began pursuing some old favorites, the reliable eBay, the pricier but curated Etsy, and found some gems in the form of a matching 2-piece set and a romper. When they arrived, they were cute, but I felt a pang of guilt. I had ordered non-essential items, which an essential worker had to deliver to me, potentially endangering himself like he does all day for, ideally, more responsible shoppers. I tried to rationalize my decision by coming to the conclusion that selling thrifted clothing online may be the main source of income for a lot of people, or at the very least, supplemental in a trying financial time. But even then, I wondered, where did the sellers get the clothes? Did they regularly flip through thrift stores, pulling the best pieces from communities that could benefit them in order to make a profit? Is there no winning here. Instead of simply questioning my decision and opting not to thrift online without getting answers, I reached out to a few Etsy sellers, some I've purchased from in the past, others I've admired, to see how they view their business, while so many others have shuddered. Turns out they too feel conflicted, but see online thrifting as an opportunity to support small businesses. And then there are interviews with some Etsy sellers who sell vintage thrifted items. Again, this will be linked in the show notes below so you can go through and read it. What struck me about the beginning of the article, which is written by Maria Sherman, is that kind of this unknown that people do thrift and sell online to make money. It was kind of like, oh, do people do this to make money? It seemed like she didn't really understand that, which I don't think a lot of people understand the business of reselling. So I found that part of the article interesting. But then the interviews with the Etsy sellers below are also a really good read. So I encourage you to check it out. And that's a wrap on today's show. If you liked it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment, even if it's just a hello or an emoji, as that engagement really does help with YouTube's algorithm. And you guys have been doing that. Thank you so very much. Also, check out the show notes below the video for links to the articles I referenced. You can email me your questions or reseller stories. My email is also below. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.